Janet Jackson set a record that no other female R&B artist would ever break. If you grew up watching movies on VHS tapes, checking out BET's Video Soul on basic cable, or hanging out on the block, sitting on the stoop, or chilling in the park, listening to music blasting from boombox radios, then you already know the mid-80s was fun, yet competition was fierce in the streets and in black music culture. As far as music, radio was segmented. MTV was the ultimate gatekeeper, and if a soulful vocalist wanted to cross over from R&B to pop, you needed more than a great song, you needed an entire campaign. In the mid-80s, one album didn't just make noise, it rewired the industry. With the Control album, Janet Jackson didn't politely knock on the door of musical superstardom. She kicked the door off its hinges. Today, we're breaking down a stat line that still sounds made up. One album, Control, earned 5 number one hit singles on Billboard's R&B chart, called the Hot Black Singles Chart at the time, and 5 top 5 hits on the Hot 100, what the industry considers the pop charts. Same album, 2 different audiences, other domination. That's the double 5. And here's the wild part. No female R&B artist before Janet, during Janet's reign, or since, has matched her incredible accomplishment. Not Whitney, not Mariah, not TLC, not Beyonce, not today's streaming R&B queens. And let's get into why. Let's put Control on the table. Released February 1986, produced primarily by Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and loaded with singles that had dance floor jams, around the way grooves, and pop polished songs that appealed to suburbia. Here's the split. 5 number one hits on the R&B charts. What Have You Done For Me Lately, Nasty, Control, Let's Wait a While, and The Pleasure Principle. And then 5 top 5 hits on the pop charts. Control peaked at number 5, What Have You Done For Me Lately peaked at number 4, Nasty went to number 3, Let's Wait a While went all the way to number 2, and When I Think of You was number 1, the number 1 song on the pop charts. So read that back. The R&B side crowns 5 number 1 hit songs, and the pop side gave Janet 5 songs that all peaked in the Hot 100 top 5, with When I Think of You going number 1. All of this from the same album. The overlap between those two lists is for the titles, because The Pleasure Principle handles business in the R&B space, while When I Think of You carries the banner to number 1 on the pop charts. That record peaked at number 3 on the R&B charts. On a personal note, The Pleasure Principle is my favorite song on the album, and I can't believe that record didn't crack the top 10 on the pop charts. But anyway, A&M Records' marketing strategy was brilliant. Now that's sequencing. That's a team that understood both lanes and ran them in parallel without cannibalizing momentum. This wasn't just success, it was infrastructure. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis built arrangements that were perfect for black radio. Swinging drum machines, rubbery synth bass, snap-tight hooks, and then they fine-tuned the melodic lift for the top 40 music listeners, the pop audience. Meanwhile, A&M's marketing played chess, not checkers. Radio servicing, retail windows, video premieres, magazine covers, the rollout felt endless. Now, nobody gets to 1986 without a road paved by legends. The Supremes practically invented pop crossover muscle. 5 consecutive number ones on the pop charts in 1964 and 65 alone. But this was across multiple releases and albums, not a concentrated single album run of top 5s. Diana Ross's 1980 set, Diana, gave us Upside Down, number one on the pop charts and number one on the R&B charts, and I'm Coming Out, a top 5 record on the pop charts. But the campaign peaked with 2 huge smashes, not 5, across both charts. And how can you not pay homage to the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin? Respect hit number one on the pop charts and reset the culture. Her masterpiece album, I Never Loved a Man the Way I Loved You, delivered R&B perfection. But in the 60s and 70s, labels would often spread hits across standalone singles, soundtrack one-offs, and multiple albums. The machinery wasn't engineered to squeeze 5 pop top 5s and 5 R&B number 1s out of one album's track list. It wasn't an issue of talent, it was simply how the music industry operated during those eras. So now, let's talk about Janet's peers. Whitney, Mariah, and later Toni Braxton, and then those who came along several years, decades even later, after Janet, and while their impressive runs respectively didn't crack the double 5 from one album. Let's start with Whitney. She released her album Whitney in 1987. There were 4 straight number 1 hits on the pop charts. I Wanna Dance with Somebody, Didn't We Almost Have It All, So Emotional, and Where Do Broken Hearts Go? On the pop side, that's massive. But the same singles didn't go all number 1 on the R&B charts. The center of gravity for Whitney singles was heavily lean pop. Now R&B embraced those records, no doubt, but not to the point of each single reaching number 1 on what I like to call the Soulful Charts. Mariah Carey's debut album from 1990. There were 4 number 1s on the pop charts off Mimi's debut, which is absurd. Vision of Love, Love Takes Time, Someday, and I Don't Want to Cry. On the R&B side of town, that same run gave her 2 number 1s and 2 near misses. She was close on both axes, pop and R&B, but not 5 on either side from her debut. Now later albums by Mariah brought more number 1s, but not stat like Janet's Control record and the single album Silo. TLC's Crazy Sexy Cool, released in 1994. The group had a flawless 4-single pop run. Digging on You went number 5, Red Light Special peaked at number 2, and Creeping Waterfalls both went to number 1. On the R&B side, Creep hit number 1, while Waterfalls peaked at number 4. Very nice work, but not 5 and 5 from one LP. Toni Braxton's album Secrets, released in 1996. The vocalist had 2 massive number 1s on the pop charts, You're Making Me High and Unbreak My Heart. With You're Making Me High also a number 1 R&B hit, along with the song Let It Flow, but still far from 5 on either metric from a single album. Now let's go to Monica. Her album, The Boy Is Mine, released in 1998. Monica had 3 singles from that album that reached the top of the pop music world. The Boy Is Mine, with help from Brandy, The First Night, and Angel of Mine. Impressive indeed. And in the world of R&B, The Boy Is Mine and The First Night were number 1 hits, and Angel of Mine peaked at number 2. Great run, no doubt about that, but still below 5 top 5s in pop to go with 5 number 1s in R&B off one LP, as Janet did with Control. Now how about Alicia Keys? The Diary of Alicia Keys. Her second album, released in 2003. Alicia scored 3 top 10s on the pop charts, including 2 that made it in the top 5. You Don't Know My Name and If I Ain't Got You. Both of those were also number 1 hits on the R&B hip-hop chart. That's 2 out of 5 on each side. Impressive, but not Janet's tally. And then there's Beyonce. Beyonce's solo debut album, Dangerously in Love, was released in 2003. He scored 4 top 5s on the pop charts. Crazy in Love, Baby Boy, Me, Myself, and I, and Naughty Girl, with strong R&B beats too. For example, Crazy in Love and Baby Boy both hit the very top of the R&B charts, going number 1. But the math stopped short of 5 R&B number 1s from the same album, and on the pop side, Beyonce fell one short of 5 singles to reach the top 5. She hit 4. And before someone says, hey, but what about Janet's own Rhythm Nation album? Yes, with Rhythm Nation 1814, Janet's next release after Control, she detonated the pop side with 7 Hot 100 top 5 singles. That's right, 7. But that's another record for another day. The important bit here is that even Janet didn't repeat the double 5 feet on the same project, because it's just that hard. Rhythm Nation did produce 3 number 1s on the R&B charts though. But let's move on. So we're going to now fast forward to today's era. Playlists have replaced radio program directors. TikTok challenges are what move the needle. Streaming splits charts into what seems like an endless number of niches. You name it, there's a micro metric for it. With that in mind, let's take a look at arguably Gen Z's biggest female R&B superstar. SZA, SOS, released in 2022. Now, this album is a marathon. Historic weeks at number 1 on the R&B hip-hop albums chart. The hit song, Kill Bill, took over the R&B and pop charts, reaching number 1 on both. Snooze, Refuse to Lose, peaking at number 2 on both charts. And the song, I Hate You, roared on the R&B side. The depth was crazy. A conversion. Turning that momentum into top 5 hits on the pop charts is still rare. SOS puts up a dynasty's worth of longevity stats, yet it didn't produce 5 top 5 peaks on the pop charts and 5 R&B number 1s off the same LP. The ecosystem has changed. Instead of 5 singles working sequentially for 8 to 12 weeks each, you've got 3 or 4 priority tracks and a dozen album cuts spiking for a moment before the cycle resets. And it's not just SZA. Let's look at her contemporaries. Her, Summer Walker, Ella Mai. Each has serious R&B traction, Grammy runs, and solid cultural footprints. But the campaign model is different. Now it's about more tracks, less linear single rollouts, and a pop radio format that doesn't automatically convert R&B smashes into top 5 pop real estate. The pipeline that let Janet Jackson's Control album run both neighborhoods for that long is kind of gone. That era is done. So, why is Janet's double 5 such a unicorn? Well, I came up with 3 reasons. Reason number 1, the 2-lane highway. In the 80s, you had to win 2 different elections, R&B radio and top 40 radio, pop. Those audiences weren't blended seamlessly yet. Getting 5 R&B number 1s required credibility, groove, and messaging that spoke specifically to black radio's taste. Snagging 5 top 5s on the pop charts off the same album demanded a separate but overlapping skill set. Melodic lift, nationwide call-out scores, and relentless video presence. Janet, along with the musical wizardry of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, engineered singles with targeted purposes. Some were designed to own R&B radio, like Pleasure Principle, for example, and others were built to fly high on pop radio, such as When I Think of You, along with several songs that did both. And that wasn't common then, and it's certainly not common today. Reason number 2, campaign architecture. The single servicing calendar back then was a machine. You had 6 to 9 months of setup, retail tie-ins, then 18 to 24 months of single rollouts. you could give 5 songs their own season. Today, release velocity is different. Attention span is shorter. Labels pivot faster and audiences binge albums on day one. That slow cook method that let 5 singles blossom into 5 top 5s on the pop charts and 5 number 1s on the R&B charts from one album requires patience that modern cycles just don't reward. Reason number 3, the artist at the center. So let's be honest, this took Janet. The persona, the choreography, the visuals. Yes, the pedigree, but still, the refusal to be known as just Michael Jackson's little sister. Control wasn't just a collection of songs, it was a thesis. The singles sounded like chapters in the same book, each one reinforcing the last. Empowerment anthems that function as pop candy and R&B artillery. Few artists ever aligned the message, the music, the market, and the moment that perfectly. Records aren't just numbers. They're not just products. They're architecture. Janet's Double 5 is a blueprint for how to command 2 cultures simultaneously without diluting either. It's black music with pop reach and pop presentation with a solid grip within black radio at the same time. And it arrived when the music world needed a new kind of superstar. Self-authored, visually fluent, rhythm forward, message driven. Control didn't just top the charts, it changed the playbook. So, will someone ever break Janet's record? Never say never, but the lanes have changed, the rules aren't the same, and the attention economy isn't set up for a 24-month, 5-single blitz that conquers 2 charts at once. If it does happen, we'll definitely know we're watching a once-in-a-generation alignment. Until then, the crown stays where it's been since 1986, on top of Janet's head, with Control still humming like a streetlight that never burns out. Thanks for listening. Do you think Janet Jackson's historic accomplishment with her iconic Control album will ever be matched or exceeded by another female R&B artist? Join the discussion in the comments. Like and subscribe, and come back for more. This is Soulful Charts. Until next time, peace.